Welcome to Ofofo Studio. My guest for today is Setu Parimi. Setu is the CTO at RiskProfiler. RiskProfiler is into external threat surface attack management. Now we know, threats come both from outside and from inside. But what is the difference? We'll get to know in a bit. Setu, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot for having me today. It's really nice. I have seen a lot of your podcasts in past. They're very simplistic, candid, and love the conversation about it. So really excited.
So you just made my day, my week, my year. All right, Setu. So what makes a threat external or internal?
I mean, for example, if it is an attack that is happening from within your organization or because of something that is internal to your organization, that's more of an internal threat.
Got it.
On the other side, if it is an attack or a threat that is coming in from an outside in kind of a thing, the origin is from outside.
Yeah.
Let's assume that you are a bank manager,
right. Yeah.
and you are working at a very big bank, and some of the money got looted,
right.
Stolen. Yeah. So if that money got looted because of one of your colleagues doing something wrong, that's more of an internal threat.
Got it.
And if that money got looted because of someone forcefully entering into the bank from the outside of the bank, from a totally stranger kind of a guy, that's an external threat.
So with RiskProfiler, why did you not just go threat attack surface management? Why specifically focus on threats that are coming from the outside?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. So there are some statistics in terms of breaches that are happening.
Right.
So there are numbers like how many of the breaches or the incidents are an internal incident, or how many of them are external. So what happened is when they crunched the numbers came out that 87% of the breaches are because of external threats.
Wow.
And a very less amount of those breaches are because of internal threats. So when we think about this, right? Okay, when most of the breaches are happening because of external threats, how easy or how complex is that space to secure?
Correct.
And I was, in my previous job, I was working at Amazon Web Services as an security architect. And my only job is to represent that organization and consult all the big top financial organizations across the globe. When I was doing that, all these organizations do have amazing internal security solutions.
Correct.
But when it comes to the external attack surface or external threats, they have fragmented solutions.
Correct. Yeah.
So they have one solution for one particular use case, and they have 4 other solutions for some other use case. So what I understood is, okay, there is a very nice consolidation that has happened for the internal security tools.
Right.
There are amazing solutions, antivirus, all these things, they got consolidated now, and it's amazing. It makes the security engineer's life very easy.
Right.
But when it comes to external threats, I have seen that still people are using traditional solutions to go ahead and tackle all these modern cloud native threats.
What are examples of traditional solutions?
So the traditional solutions are typical security rating products that do some basic scanning, and they do some number crunching, and then they tell you okay, your web application security is good, your network security is bad. So they do the kind of a thing with bare minimum information or intelligence about that organization. Whereas when it comes to advanced and more holistic threat exposure management platforms like RiskProfiler, what we do is we do see an organization just like how a hacker looks at an organization in multiple ways, not just in one vertical of security ratings, but we do something also called as brand monitoring in terms of what are the digital risks for that organization. In terms of what are the digital risks are, for example, if you are in a banking organization, so your customer's credit card information is something that can be leaked on some dark web, deep web marketplaces. So that's also an external threat.
Right.
And you are a banking organization again, and you do work with a lot of third-party vendors.
Yeah, correct.
So even couple of weeks back, there has been a huge incident at one of the top identity provider that is providing the identity solution for all the Fortune 100, Fortune 500 organizations, most of the Fortune 100, most of the Fortune 500 organizations that got breached because of some threat in a third-party vendor. They had an amazing internal security, all those things, but they got that incident because of some third-party vendor. So even the third-party vendor is an external threat. And if you look at your own organization, in this world of, in this digital world, it's very hard to do business not being exposed to the internet, not being on the internet.
Have to,
Yes. So when you have to be on the internet, you do have a lot of servers, internet IP addresses, or web applications that are totally internet facing. So these internet facing resources that belongs to my organization can also be an external threat, because that individual endpoint having some misconfiguration or a vulnerability. There is a huge credit rating organization in US that got completely, that leaked a lot of, not a lot, I think most of US citizens' social security numbers, all these things, because of some old server that is exposed to the internet sitting there, and the team is not aware of it completely, because they call those type of resources as shadow assets. So in the security world, you can secure all things if you are aware of something. For example, okay, here is one server, here is the other server. I'm aware of these both servers. Okay, let's go ahead and implement security solutions on top of it, and let's harden the security of those things. And behind my back, I was not aware of one more server that is lying and exposed to the internet. When I'm not aware of something, there is no way that I'll be securing it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's still an external threat, but that's a very easy, low-hanging threat for an hacker to come and do a simple payload, and then they'll get the response, okay, that the exploit is working. Now go ahead and dump the data of the entire country and do whatever I want after using that after that. So that's what, I mean, while I was consulting with all these big banks, right, I understood that the external threat exposure management space needs a good consolidated unified platform to handle all these things. Right now, there are nice solutions that are doing third-party risk management. There are nice solutions that are doing external attack surface management. There are nice solutions that are doing digital risk protection, all this dark web monitoring. But an analyst has to spend hours and hours to go through the vulnerabilities in each of these solutions that don't communicate with each other. And they are wasting a lot of resource time, and it's a lot of false positives. All these problems come in. And that's when I realized, okay, this is a huge market, because individually these markets are really huge. And if you're offering a consolidated product that saves time for the end user in terms of triaging all these vulnerabilities and has less false positives, because it has a consolidated all these solutions talk to each other, and it also adds a lot of value to the end user. And then realized, like, okay, there is we need to have a very good solution for anything external threat. So the vision and mission for RiskProfiler is, if you think about external threat, the first thing that will come to your mind is RiskProfiler, that does all things external threats, only external threat. We care about one type of threat, and that one type of threat is external threat. Nothing internal. You do whatever you want internal, we don't care about it. Anything that is exposed to the internet or available on the dark web, all these kind of things, we'll be a one-stop shop for it.
Got it. So within an organization, whose responsibility is it to be on top of all these things? Another way of asking the same question, who is it that you talk to within the organization when you're doing this profiling for them?
Yeah. So most of the time we do speak with a couple of user personas in an organization, and most of the time it would be the chief information security officer of an organization who is responsible for the overall cybersecurity posture of it. On the other side, we also talk with the compliance officer as well, because in some organizations, the third-party risk management and these type of modules, security rating, risk remediations, all these type of things comes under the compliance team. So we do work with these two personas a lot, and they understand the risk and how much important it is for their organization. Because in this digital world, just assume that you got an incident and that got out of your organization, and it went into the PR and all these things, and it's a huge brand reputation.
Correct.
So there are millions of users that are believing in you, and they are sharing your their own personal identifiable information to your organization. And after giving a lot of information to your organization, if they come to know that now my data is completely breached because of some poor security practices that an organization had, and my personal information like my fingerprints, my social security number, my credit history, my credit cards, I have my addresses where I have lived so far. Now all this information is completely available on some dark web or deep web marketplaces for sale to do a lot of bad things. The customers will lose the trust in the business.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to trust and reputation, organizations treat that very critical.
As they should.
Yes, and that's the reason why these user personas give a lot of importance for the external threats.
So when you're talking about, say, loss of reputation or some harm coming to the brand, how do you go about quantifying that? Like, for example, you say, okay, if this is not done properly, then the brand could face something like this. That means that this is how do you go about assigning the severity of the risk, and also assigning a particular amount of money to that fault or misconfiguration?
So when it comes to these type of quantifications of risk, there are some nice ways of doing it. And the first way of doing it is the way how we do it is we give a very clear, easy to understand kind of a credit rating score to the organizations for the cybersecurity posture. So in US there is something called as FICO score. So just like how in India we have CIBIL score, in US there is something called as a FICO score. So the CIBIL score is a CIBIL score or FICO score is something like it tells how good an individual is in terms of managing the financial things. At the same time, the RiskProfiler security rating is exactly similar to the rating standards of FICO, and we tell in the same way that how good or how bad an organization is in a given security area. And the way how we decide that is pure math, pure statistics, pure data. What we do is we did a lot of passive intelligence and understanding the risks and understanding the vulnerabilities of all these big organizations that are publicly trading. We did a huge analysis.
What is passive intelligence?
So the passive intelligence, when we talk about passive intelligence, we don't go ahead and send some harmful HTTP, web requests to an organization's server. Passive intelligence is not without touching the organization's endpoint. We collect a lot of intelligence about that organization.
So no penetration testing without that?
No penetration testing, because we can't penetration test or we can't actively scan any organization's assets without their explicit permission. That's not legally right. So what is allowed is something called a passive port scanning, and these type of things are allowed. And even there are some regions where they don't allow even the passive port scanning. Even they consider the basic port scanning as an active scan. So it depends on country and regional law sometimes, but in majority of the spaces, a basic port scanning without being intrusive or without being active denial of service kind of a thing, it's they accept it. So we did a huge scan of like that. And then we understood that after scanning hundreds and thousands of organizations of multiple sizes, we understood, okay, let's assume there are 100,000 organizations. And out of these 100,000 organizations, there are 20% of these organizations are really big. They have thousands and thousands of external facing assets, internet facing assets. And there are thousands of organizations that are in a very low external facing assets count. So based on that, we understood like how big or how small these organizations are. And then we understood how many vulnerabilities all these organizations have. And based on the number of vulnerabilities and type of vulnerabilities, we understood that, okay, for the past 3-4 years we have been doing it, and we understood that, okay, now this is a type of, it's like statistical probabilities that we have. What we do is, we understood in this particular bucket range of small businesses, we go ahead and assign a particular type of algorithm for them.
Okay.
And the organizations which are huge, we tweak the algorithm a bit for those type of organizations, because it's not fair for both these organizations to be compared and rated in the same way.
Absolutely.
Because now let's assume that you have 10 assets,
Right.
and let's assume that this organization has 100 assets. Now this 10 assets organization is having 5 vulnerabilities, and this 100 assets organization is having 5 vulnerabilities. But the thing is, the scale is totally different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's the reason we don't want to go ahead and treat all the organization in the same way. So we do something called as normalization.
Got it. Yeah.
Based on the normalization and based on the historical data, we have created a very good algorithm, which is as of today used by multiple cyber insurance providers. Because for cyber insurance provider, let's assume that you are trying to get a health insurance.
Yeah.
So when you're getting a health insurance, the health insurance provider will ask you some questions, right? Like, okay, what's your height? What's your weight? What's your BMI?
Yeah.
So they ask these type of questions to calculate how healthy or how not healthy this person is. And the reason why they calculate that stuff is, they don't want to, the insurance is a gambling kind of a
Absolutely.
business,
Yes,
right?
yeah, yeah.
They give you insurance, and then they pray that you never claim that money.
Yeah.
Okay, and this will only work at scale.
Right.
So for understanding whether you will submit a claim or not in future, they ask all these questions to understand your posture.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the same way, in the cyber insurance world as well, these cyber insurance providers want to understand how good or how bad your organization's security posture is.
Correct. Yeah.
And if they go ahead and send you a questionnaire, something like, hey, can you please tell me whether you have these type of security controls or not?
Right.
What if you have answered yes to everything?
Your premium is going to be very low.
No, yeah, your premium is going to be very low.
Yeah.
And there is no way that the organization has, insurance provider has a way to validate all the things that you have submitted.
Yeah. It can't be all comprehensive. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the cyber insurance providers as of today use RiskProfiler to understand how good or how bad an organization's security posture is.
Got it.
So an organization with a high security rating will be treated, okay, these guys are having good security posture from an outside in.
Yeah.
And we assume that they will also have some internal controls based on the questionnaire responses that they submit.
Yeah.
And they go ahead and give a low premium.
Got it.
So we do something called as ransomware accessibility matrix. So as of today, most of the cyber insurance providers worry about one threat.
Yeah.
One claim is huge, and that one claim is ransomware incidents. So they want to make sure that these organizations are having good controls against the ransomware attacks.
Okay. So that statistic that you brought up at the earlier in the conversation, said 87% of the threats are external.
Correct.
Within that 87%, what is the percentage of ransomware attacks? Like, what lead to ransomware attacks?
Yeah. So when it comes to an incident, most of the time it will either be ransomware or your organization's data being leaked. I don't have an accurate number on top of my head, but there is a very popular study that does these type of numbers, which is called as Verizon breach incident report. So on an annual basis, they publish a report telling that, okay, in this particular year, the number of breaches are X number, for example. Out of these breaches, the 87 are internal, and the other ones are 87 are external, and the other ones are internal. And they have the statistics, which is the most active country that was targeting which regions, which ransomware group targeted a lot. What is the minimum amount that an incident has costed a business? What is the maximum amount that has costed a business?
What's the average?
So the average is somewhere in 17 to 18 million kind of a thing.
Wow.
So
let's say like there's a mid-size organization. By mid-size, I mean like 1,000 employees.
Okay.
Right. What kind of ransom
would a hacker be expecting if they were to undergo a ransomware attack?
Okay.
Average.
On an average,
Yeah.
it would. We have seen the ransomware gangs.
Mhm.
Most of the time, they demand in the incrementals of 50s.
Okay.
So we have seen a very small organization getting breached
Mhm.
with just like 50 or 60. Even they were like demanding 50
Hmm.
50 grand for that.
Yeah.
And the way how they work is the more time you take to pay the ransom,
Mhm.
the ransom amount will increase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have also seen one of the largest insurance providers in US
Mhm.
paying $3 million to get the decryption key.
Oh my God.
$3 million. And the sad part in this is you pay the ransom
Hmm.
to the attackers and then just pray that they actually delete that
Yeah.
data that they have took it from your organization.
In most cases, they don't.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, okay, fine. 3 million is here. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Let me go ahead and sell this data on dark web
Yeah.
and make a few more, couple more millions.
Yeah.
Is what they think, right?
Right.
So there are specialist incident response consulting organizations in US who talk with all these ransomware gangs and establish the communication and make sure the process goes smooth
Right.
for the leadership teams.
Yeah.
But the cost is huge. On the other side, they have to completely shut down the business for a couple of weeks as well in some situations.
Right.
We have seen organizations completely converting into an air-gapped network,
Mhm.
which means nothing from the internet comes into the organization
Mhm.
and nothing goes outside the organization, including the emails as well.
Okay.
So that kind of I have seen for a couple of weeks, and that's a huge loss for a business as well.
Mhm.
So it's when it comes to ramifications and when it comes to the impact, it's huge.
Okay, another thing, like within external attacks, how many of them can be attributed to maliciousness and how many of them can be attributed to just plain carelessness?
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So what you're asking is, okay, there are like 100 external threats.
Yes.
How many of these 100 external threats are
because of someone attacking me out of like malicious intent,
okay?
And how many of those are just like plain carelessness on my part, leaving things open?
Okay, I mean,
or I
they
think
both
they're
are
interrelated.
Yes,
Yeah,
they both are interconnected because most of the time, because of some kind of misconfiguration that an internal person do,
yeah,
which can be opening up an simple S3 bucket,
yeah,
permissions to the world. Anyone in the world can come and see my data and download the data.
Right.
That's simple misconfiguration check.
Yeah.
Earlier it was just one button and that's it. Your bucket will be publicly available.
Yeah.
And now it has improved a lot after a lot of breaches.
Yeah.
But earlier it was very, very easy. And once you make something easy for any attacker, in the current cloud native world, the attackers have automated their recon process. What I mean by that is, earlier it would be one attacker targeting one particular organization,
Right.
and that particular attacker will go ahead and try to find some external facing resources that belongs to organization,
Yeah.
and vulnerabilities in those external facing assets. But now they are doing things at scale.
Yeah.
The way how they are doing it is, once you simply open up a simple server in AWS to the internet, and then just listen the traffic that is being coming in on these popular ports.
Yeah.
Within minutes, there will be some SSH brute force attacks. All these kind of things happening from some random servers across the globe.
Yeah.
Because
And they're doing it en masse.
En masse. What they do is they do something called as Hail Mary.
Okay.
They go ahead and spray a lot of different type of payloads to a huge IP space.
Okay.
And then they sit and just watch, okay, how many servers am I getting a reverse shell?
Right.
So, and they don't even know that, okay, which organization am I breaching right now? They don't even care about it. So, few organizations do, I mean, there are bad organizations, the ransomware groups, few of them, they go ahead and try to get the shell. Once they get the shell, they have a list of all the servers, and then they do the post exploitation manually. But initially, getting that even reverse shell or that FTP brute force, RDP brute force kind of things is heavily automated. So if you make a simple guess, if you open up a simple server in AWS,
Okay.
and you open it up to the internet,
Yeah.
and you make one of the admin ports like SSH port open to the internet, how much time it would take? I mean, AWS IP space is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, within how many seconds or how many minutes or how many hours do you think you would be getting pinged with all these malicious payloads?
Geographically, if you could place them, where do most of these attacks come from?
I mean, most of the time we have seen a lot of attacks originating from few countries. Few of them, so most of them will be like China, from Russia, these type of regions a lot. We have seen that. On the other side, we have also seen a lot of traffic coming from US as well, because it's not that some attacker is sitting in US and trying to do all this stuff, because most of the time the organizations have some firewalls kind of things to prevent from traffic coming from outside the countries if they don't have business. So the attackers, they try to get some servers, farms in in the same geographical region, and then they go ahead and do all the probing sort of stuff from the same countries as well. So we have seen a lot of traffic coming from these three regions a lot. And
And your normal firewalls like Cloudflare, etc., do they help?
yeah, man, definitely they do help. They do help unless or until we made a very bad, silly misconfiguration. For example, even if you go ahead and have a web application and you have Cloudflare in front of it, and your web application has an admin portal with weak credentials. So the firewall is not going to stop it, because there is nothing malicious coming in. There's a simple username, simple password coming in. So they will let it go until unless it's a huge brute force and coming rate limiting is being exceeded. Then the WAFs will kick in to block those IPs for a particular time. But the attackers are getting smarter and faster with the help of the cloud resources that they have in place. Once upon a time, getting a simple static IP address is very hard, and having multiple is very, very hard. But now you can just have a disposable socks or disposable hundreds of IPs just for like a couple of dollars. So what they do is, like, once these WAFs or firewalls block and give an IP address, they quickly switch the IP address, and the rate limiting resets. So these are some easy ways that the solutions can be bypassed, but still having these type of Cloudflare kind of solutions is always good.
Got it. So earlier you were talking about your risk accessibility metrics, right?
Yeah.
Is that something unique to RiskProfiler, or are there other companies doing the same thing?
There are definitely other companies doing it. It's not unique that only we are doing it, because risk matrix, heat matrix has been in the industry to quantify the risk and to measure the risk for a lot of time. The only difference that we provide to our customers is how in-depth the risk analysis that an organization that we do against. So for example, if there is an organization, there is a security ratings organization that does this kind of heat matrix, risk matrix, based on 100, 200, 300 misconfiguration checks, and versus RiskProfiler, it creates the same kind of a heat matrix based on thousands of misconfiguration checks that we do. So based on how in-depth risk analysis that we do, the value of the risk matrix drastically changes. And also, what is something that unique that we do is, we have a very good feature where we automatically quantify the criticality of an asset. For example, you have 100 servers exposed to the internet, and out of these 100 servers, there can be only 10 servers that are very critical for you. But as an enterprise user, I don't want to go ahead and sit and tag each and every critical resource manually. So the rule of thumb is basically, if there is a server that is having some critical services running on it, that's automatically, most of the time, it's a critical server. For example, if you have an email server that's an important server. If you have a DNS server, that's an important server. So based on these type of factors, it's not very hard to go ahead and quantify whether this individual asset is a critical asset or not. You can always get this 90 to 95% accuracy, because on all the other sites or other assets, it can be just a simple marketing static site that you have created for Google ad pages or anything like that. It's less critical compared to your crown jewels.
Right.
So RiskProfiler does an automated criticality assessment on each and every type of asset that we identify. And now in the heat matrix, you have on one side you have how critical the asset is. On the other side, you have how critical or how dangerous the vulnerability is. So now you get a very clear matrix in terms of like, okay, the top right ones are the most important things for me to fix first. That's one way of quantifying the risk. And that's the traditional way as well. The way how RiskProfiler takes it to the complete next level is with the help of attack paths.
What are those?
So attack path is, in a simple term, it is an path that an attacker takes to compromise an organization. What are the different resources or assets that he targets? He or she targets? What are the different vulnerabilities that the attacker tries to exploit? And what's that exact path that the attacker takes to compromise an organization? So finding those attack paths are very important. And the way how we do a very good job at it is, unlike the traditional external threat solutions, they have the third-party risk management solutions, or the brand risk, digital risk reputation solutions, or the external attack surface solutions. They don't talk to each other very well.
Right.
In RiskProfiler, we just have one database, which is a graph database.
What is a graph?
A graph database is something that you have, you store data in the form of nodes and relationships.
Okay, got it.
So the node can be a simple asset, or a node can be a simple vulnerability. And we paint the internet picture using connected dots.
Got it.
So now I can tell you like, okay, this is an organization A, and how is this organization A is connected to 5 other organizations? What are the common assets that are being shared between these organizations? So that kind of an intelligence helps us to understand the most critical assets. So now you just have to target one server which has access to 2 or 3 different organizations, compromise that server. If that server is getting compromised, 3 organizations get breached. And that's how we do this graph intelligence. So now we have all the third-party vendors in our graph database. And we have all the external facing assets that belongs to your organization and also your third-party organizations in the same graph database.
Nice.
On the other side, we also have all the data leaks, previous data breaches, incidents, all these things on the same graph database. So now once you have all this information on the same graph database, and as I told you, the graph database has nodes and the relationships. So you connect all these nodes to other relationships. So we have created multiple relationships that 2 nodes can be connected to each other. What I mean by that is, okay, now this is an organization called as Fortune Bank. And this is a vendor called as Ofofo Studios. So how Fortune Bank is connected to Ofofo Studios? So this is the relationship. The relationship is a third-party vendor relationship.
Right.
In some of the situations, this Fortune Bank uses Amazon Web Services. What is the relationship between this organization and Amazon Web Services? It's a service provider, technology provider. That's the relationship. So we have created all these type of relationships to enhance our graph intelligence. On the other side, we also have the same graph database with multi-tenancy, and to protect the confidential information, internal information, we protect it from the threat intelligence information as well. What I mean by threat intelligence information is, we have the bad actors like ransomware groups, command and control servers, and all these botnets, the dark web marketplaces leaks, all this information as well in the same graph database. So now we map all these things to each other. Like now we have this power to go ahead and create that attack path or simulate that attack path that an attacker can take to compromise your organization. Because we have the information about an organization a huge information about our organization in a single database. That information is how many vendors you have, how many subsidiaries you have, how many supply, what are the supply chain vendors that you have, and what are the external facing resources that you have, and what are the dark web mentions, network leaks, all these things you have, what are the vulnerabilities you have. So all these things are interconnected, because I was a penetration tester, not doing pen testing these days, but in my previous career I started as a web application penetration tester. So back in those days we used to have all this stupid hacking groups, but those things taught us a lot. We don't have any limits. I mean, we learned a lot of things by experimenting. These days we have all this fancy hack the box kind of platforms where you can play and root those cloud hosted machines. But in back in those days when I started learning penetration testing, we use some live targets as our hack the box machines. So that's how we did all that stuff in past. So we learned a lot of things. And
Was that your first job?
I mean, at the time I had a lot of time, so I did it for.
About this time, like what year?
It's 15 years back. 15 years back. So early. I have been doing penetration testing since my school days. Back in those days, it's fun. There is something called as Orkut. Yeah. So in Orkut, the more the number of scrapes you have, the more cooler you are. Yeah. We used to write those browser plugins to go ahead and build up those scrapes. And on the other side, the more the number of likes, the more the number of stuff you have on Facebook initially, it's a matter a lot. And slowly, slowly that got, I mean, when my friends were having more than me, and I was like, I had to do something. And then what we used to do, I used to create a phishing page and then send it. Okay. The dude just beautifully enters the username, password, clicks on login, and the actual Facebook page logs in, comes up, and the username credential that I have the phishing page, it disappears, and I get the username password from the server. So then getting into this type of funny phishing page stuff started me to learn penetration testing. I didn't know the term is penetration testing back then. People used to call hacking. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then it slowly went up and up. Eventually, my dad and mom stopped giving me pocket money because I was not doing great at exams and all this stuff. Okay, fine. Then my friends introduced me to something called as bug bounty hunting. Okay, then at the time it's very easy. The bug bounty market space is not very crowded and it's very easy. Like go ahead and do simple XSS payload. The thing pops up, XSS box pops up, and okay, fine, $500 in the bank account. So and then it was very easy. So and then there are a lot of payloads as well available. So we just do payload, and then we find the box, and then we slowly it became very tough because it became a crowded space. All the low-hanging fruits, people are like easily targeting. Then slowly we have to upgrade, and I started learning all this advanced CSR for all this type of attacks. And then I got very good at penetration testing, got a big hall of fames, and slowly I understood that okay, for an attacker to target or compromise an organization or anything, it's not always a direct path. Sometime what happens is your organization will have some external facing assets, but those external facing assets do have some type of authentication. But this authentication credentials are available in dark web from previous data breaches. So I get those credentials and spray these credentials over here and get access to the platform. So now the attacker's attack path is not straightforward. The attacker has used some threat from the dark web, which comes under the digital risk protection module. And then he got the credentials. On the other side, the attacker identified a shadow asset that even the company is not aware of. For example, your organization uses HubSpot tracker IDs or Google Analytics IDs. So the same, even if you have 100 websites, you'll be having only one marketing team, right? So they like to use the same tag manager everywhere. So now if you have a common tag manager between other websites, you'll be able to easily understand the websites that you own. And the security team, most of the time, they are not aware of those random websites the marketing team has created, which can be less secure than the ones that you're aware of. So now the attacker uses external attack surface management module to find the shadow IT asset. Then the attacker goes ahead and leverages some vulnerability in that shadow IT asset, which is less secure, and compromises an organization. So now instead of as of today, it's like consolidated. It's not well consolidated and it's not unified.
It's not, yeah.
Yeah. So we took that as an inspiration, and then we thought like, okay, anything that is an external threat, it should be one solution helping the customers.
Right.
Because you can't just an attacker doesn't just go ahead and leverage only third-party risk management for targeting an organization. Attacker doesn't do only external attack surface. He or she uses multiple things to compromise an organization. Then why not the security solutions are not unified when the attackers are using all this unified intelligence?
Correct.
So
and they're
then
also talking among each other, which
Yes.
companies don't. So
yes. So then we understood like, okay, let's build a very good solution that does not just give list of vulnerabilities, but it also tells you the list of attack paths that a hacker can take. So RiskProfiler is differentiated in this way. We don't just give you thousands of vulnerabilities that you may have. We also tell you the less 20 or 30 attack paths which are verified, validated for the end users. So now the end user as an enterprise, I was a security engineer until we started building RiskProfiler. Before that, I was security architect, I was a security consultant. So I'm a hardcore practitioner.
Right.
So I understand the pain of triaging all these vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
So I have started myself as a level 1 application security engineer. So initially all these scanners dump you a lot of vulnerabilities, and my job is to go ahead and check whether this vulnerability is a false positive or an actual vulnerability. I know the pain of it.
Yeah.
So it's very painful, and that I want to take the pain point away for our customers. And that's the reason we show the raw vulnerabilities. At the same time, we also show the verified attack paths.
Got it.
So now you just have to fix very less vulnerabilities and then get a maximum improvement in your external security posture. At the same time, save time as well. That's the unique offering that we have in RiskProfiler compared to traditional security rating products, traditional attack surface management products, or traditional digital risk management products. We are a unified platform that does all these things, and we save a lot of time. We have did some surveys with all of our security analysts that are working in our customers' places. The metric that we got back is we are saving 17 hours of time
Nice.
a week for a given security analyst, because the security analyst who is using a digital risk protection platform, and the way how digital risk protection platform works is based on keywords.
Right.
So for example, Ofofo Labs, Ofofo Labs, Ofofo Studios, these are the keywords that you target for. And anywhere on the internet, if you have this Ofo kind of a word, it will be the platform will show you that as a vulnerability.
Correct.
Or a finding.
Yeah.
Now you as an analyst has to sit and check whether this Ofo is right, wrong, risk or not. Okay. The way how RiskProfiler we do is we do the same keyword based searching, but we have a fleet of brand intelligence analysts that help our customers to verify those findings and show those things as a managed thing.
Nice.
So that's one way we do. On the other side, even the third-party risk management. You have we have one of the largest pharmaceutical organization as our customer.
Okay.
They have like 8,000 third-party vendors. 8,000 third-party vendors. They have a fleet of third-party security analysts. Their only job is to follow up on a regular basis with these third-party vendors, either if they are getting onboarded or either if they want to renew their subscription. The only job is like, can you please send me your SOC 2 report?
Yeah.
Can you please complete this questionnaire?
Yeah.
Can you please give me additional evidences? This is the only thing that they were doing.
Yeah.
And the return on investment on that is you having 3 or 4 people to do this 6,000 vendors risk or level 1 work is somewhere equal to 300-400K US dollars in a year.
Wow.
And it's not any rocket science kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's not.
That's where we do it as an automated fashion. So we do the same questionnaire stuff, but we don't need analysts to do the triaging work.
Yeah.
Because RiskProfiler also has something called as external attack surface management module under the platform.
Right.
So we know already what are the risks in those third-party vendors. So what we have did is each and every questionnaire, which has hundreds of questions, each and every question is mapped to some kind of misconfiguration check in RiskProfiler.
Okay.
Let's assume in simple terms, if me as a Fortune bank sent Ofo a questionnaire, and one of the question is, hey Ofo, do you guys encrypt your data in transit? And the security analyst at Ofo says, yes, we do encrypt the traffic in transit. RiskProfiler has a lot of misconfiguration checks, right? We have mapped those misconfiguration checks to each and every question. And RiskProfiler does this automated assessment and tells you that, hey, I know in real time.
Nice.
And RiskProfiler will tell you that, hey, I agree whatever you are told. You have 75 assets which are web application assets. And out of these 75 assets, 70 of those assets do have encryption in transit. But there are 5 assets that do not force HTTPS encryption. So what you have answered is partially correct. So we'll show those vulnerabilities right when the other person is answering those questions.
Nice.
So now you just don't blindly say yes, yes, yes for everything and submit it like a health insurance. I don't have any problems. Go ahead and give me the least premium. We can't do that because the automated validation is done by the platform. And that saves a lot of time. So instead of going through a lot of manual triaging, now with just a simple button, you will say non-compliant responses. We have a filter like that. Click on that button and we'll tell you these are the 15 non-compliant responses that the third-party vendor has submitted. And then we have another button, click on it. Okay, create remediation tasks. Create remediation tasks, 5 remediation tasks, fix them within the next 30 days before the renewal kicks in. Submit. It goes back and they'll start fixing it. So we have saved hours of time for a security team who is purely working on this triaging process. On the other side, we have did something called as external attack surface management. We have this external attack surface management module as well. Initially, we did not start it in the traditional way. We wanted to more heavily focus on cloud attack surface management. So in the current world, the cloud migration and transformation journeys are happening a lot, right? So the landscape in cloud environments, the attack surface in cloud environments is a lot different to the traditional data centers attack surface. So what we did is we started with cloud attack surface management and then we entered the external attack surface management. So I'm always a huge cloud security fan because I did spend almost a decade on only cloud security. So even when there was nothing called as landing zones and all these advanced things like 5-7 years back, I was building the landing zones for multi-billion-dollar financial organizations, like default by secure. So now it's a huge market in the industry that there's a huge market in the industry startup market for default by secure defaults, secure blueprints. That's a huge market right now. But we have been doing that in the security engineering wave 10 years back. So I'm heavily into cloud security engineering. And that's the reason we started cloud attack surface management.
So when you say we started, it's you and?
It's our founding team. Okay. So it's
Tell me about them. Yeah.
It's me, the tech guy.
Okay.
And it's Gary. Gary Mary. Gary Mary is has been a veteran, and then he has been a CEO of multiple public trading companies in past in US, and he has also been a CEO of multi-billion-dollar cybersecurity companies. And he's our CEO now. He's a visionary, strategist kind of a person. Visionary, takes care of the business, relationship, all the stuff.
How do you guys meet?
So it's me. I was working at an organization as a cloud security architect. In that organization, my partner, Chirag, he is the CISO of that organization. And when Chirag was in my role, when he was a security architect, Gary was his boss.
Got it.
So that's how we three are connected. So Chirag is my boss's boss while I was working in US. And Gary is Chirag's boss's boss while he was at my level. So that's how we three take care of things. And Chirag is, he's like a leader and a very reputed person in the CISO community. He also has something called as Global CISO Leadership Foundation. That is purely for CISOs, educating the CISOs, improving the strategies of the CISOs in US. And he is also one of the advisors on CAS. He sits on the CAS Technical Advisory Board.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and he is like, he's the guy deal closer for me. So we have one person, like if you take boat, so the Aman Gupta is Chirag Arora. And boat's other guy, like process oriented and heavy on execution, that's me. And maintaining both these guys is what Gary is. That's how our structure is. So we are like a very small company, but we are very powerful in terms of strategy, business, tech, and all these kind of things. We have our own roles and responsibilities. We report to Gary, and Gary is like, "Hey Setu, I wanted this thing to be done for the next customer. Why are you 1 week delayed?" Like, sorry, Gary, we got all these caveats, re-architectures that we have to do. It will be done by next week. So that's what we do. And Gary asks the same thing, like, "Hey Chirag, I want these 3 accounts to be closed. Why are they not closed yet?" He's the bosses of the boss.
Yeah.
So that's what our simple structure is.
How big is your team?
So we have 15 developers,
Okay.
and we have like 4 or 5 security researchers, and we have 17 brand intelligence, security intelligence, managed third-party vendor analysts. So the team is somewhere like 30 to 40, and we are completely remote. So we were having an office space earlier in Gurugram,
Okay.
and we decided to rip that office space and save like 5% or 10% of the budget.
Yeah.
And all that money is given back as promotions or bonuses to the employees.
Nice.
And they work from home happily. I work from home happily. And it's we save a lot of commute time and also reduce the CO2 as well. So yeah, something better we do.
That's amazing.
What else is on the future roadmap for you and for RiskProfiler?
I mean, the future is our mission and vision is the future for us. So we want to be an leader in the external threat exposure management space. Anything that is an external threat, third-party threat, external attack surface threat, digital risk reputation threat, we should be the product that people think of. Anything that's an external threat, we are doing it. And in future, we are also having amazing modules, more advanced modules that are coming out in the next quarter, which are going to take our cloud attack surface management to the whole next level.
Can you talk about them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's right now we have something called as CNAP
Yeah.
in the cloud security space.
Right.
And if you think what is CNAP, CNAP is nothing but it's an umbrella term for cloud security posture management, cloud security workload protection, and cloud security entitlement protection, and all serverless security, container security, Kubernetes security, authorization. So all these things are now consolidated and they call it as CNAP.
Okay.
Okay. And what we feel is the module that we have, huge module of RiskProfiler, which is cloud attack surface management, should also be part of this CNAP umbrella.
Yeah.
And it also has a direct relationship with the ASPM umbrella as well. So the ASPM umbrella is application security posture management. And what is the meaning of AS? I mean, what are the things that are consolidated under ASPM is static application security testing, SAST, dynamic application security testing, DAST, and interactive IAST. And then you have the software component analysis, and all these things are combined together, and then now they're calling it as ASPM.
Yeah.
So what is one thing that these both verticals do is they try to go ahead and secure the cloud security workloads, and they try to go ahead and secure the application security workloads.
Right.
Both of these solutions are trying to secure application cloud. And what is the cloud attack surface management product like RiskProfiler is doing is we identify the unknowns. What I mean by the unknowns is the shadow IT assets I've told.
Right. Yeah.
So these guys, I mean, these ASPM, CNAP verticals, major responsibility is secure the cloud security and the application security workloads, including the shadow IT assets as well. If these solutions are not aware of these shadow IT assets, there is no way that these solutions can secure them.
Right.
And the cloud attack surface management product like RiskProfiler's responsibility is to go ahead and tell exactly which are the shadow IT assets that belongs to an organization. Once this intelligence is fed into the CNAP or ASPM products, they can do their routine stuff. If you're not aware of something, you can't secure it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the way how you can be completely aware of something is having a solution like RiskProfiler, monitoring your back, that you're not missing anything, you're watching all your blind spots, basically. So the watching the blind spots area is what RiskProfiler is known for. And we have at least 5 to 10 demos, customer demos going on every day.
Nice.
Every time we get into a demo, we generate a report of RiskProfiler.
Yeah.
We call it as a prospecting scan internally.
How
But
impressed are the people?
I mean, they're shocked. Every report that we give it out for free.
Okay.
So every report that we show to an end user or a potential demo that you're getting, they start with an open eyes. They think like, okay, why is it even is this server
Why do you
belong?
know so much?
Yeah, I mean they start with this, and then we clearly tell them like how many of your web applications are behind a WAF and how many of them are not behind a WAF, and they're pretty much surprised about it.
Yeah.
So they initially saw a huge risk and huge value out of it, and then once they see the report, they want to do a POC.
Yeah.
And touch wood, by good technology that we have and all other things, we have a huge 97% of conversion. We always follow an approach of land and then expand, because our TAM is huge, because we have market in the third party risk management, external XFS management, and also brand, and we are backed by a lot of CISOs in the USA.
Yeah.
And we are also getting a lot of CISOs and industry leaders in India, and we onboarded them for their inputs. And initially, I got thrashing feedback from each and every one of them. And the good thing is, if they don't give the feedback, they are not adding value.
Right.
So my only job is like, okay, take the feedback, take the critics.
Yeah.
Even if I want them to tell me like, hey, Setu, you are building a shitty product, is what I want them to tell me.
Yeah.
Only then I'll get my blood boiled, or like, how can they tell me my product is not good, and then I'll start taking it to the next level. So I always want someone to challenge me and give me a very good feedback, telling like, this can be better. If they tell me that this can be better, I'll make sure that that will be better. So that's how my product development, even the products that we build internally, right? Even our roadmap is publicly accessible. Anyone can access our roadmap. We don't build stuff secretly. Nice. All the stuff.
Nice.
The complete product roadmap is public, and the way how we prioritize our features is also public.
Nice.
So that's what something I have learned in AWS, working backwards from the customers.
Right.
So we don't. For example, I want XYZ features to be shipped out first because they are cool.
Yeah. No.
But my customers want ABC features, and I'll just shut my mouth and go with the ABC. There is some balance that we have to always keep up with in terms of innovation and the needs and necessity of the customers. So it will be like something A, B, and X, because we want to have that innovation as a startup. That's the most important thing for us.
Yeah.
The way how we are differentiator is, if it takes all these big giants few months to release a very good product or a feature, it will take days and weeks for us.
Nice.
We ship stuff at a very fast pace, and the way we are able to do it is because we are a small team, we're a startup, and hungry people, and each and everyone, like the folks who are leading right now RiskProfiler's principal engineers that we have, they are the folks who have joined us as an intern.
Wow.
Yeah, they joined us as an interns, man. I mean, they joined us as interns, and then they grow up, and we promote young leaders within the organization, and they have that hunger to find or build amazing solutions. My job is just like, if I say this is not good enough, is what my job is. If something is not enough, it's not good enough. I want to make it, because I am not a developer at heart. I'm a security engineer. I'm a security practitioner.
Right.
I can write amazing security solutions, build against it, so I can do amazing security research. But when it comes to development, right, that's a whole different ocean by itself.
You're the opposite, I would feel. You're a deconstructor.
Yeah. So for me, right, no, these are some solutions that I have built in like for my own penetration testing, these scripts. These things are amazingly working in my laptop. The module that you have built in for the platform, RiskProfiler platform, using serverless kind of things, it's not giving the right accurate results as mine. And then they say, it's not possible. At scale, it is very hard. You are just targeting one application and doing it. We scan millions and billions of domains, and it's the false positive. I don't know about the other man. Analyze the data, and then I'll get that, because we use huge Athenas and all these things. So we analyze the data, and then we see like, okay, these are the things that are giving a huge problem, because of which we are getting a lot of false positives. We'll sit and tweak it, and we'll write custom rules, suppression rules, all these things under the hood. But what I personally realized is, security engineering at one organization versus building a security product for the world is two different things.
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
It's two different things, and the complexities and challenges are the things that we love about improving the product. So it's
Love the approach.
yeah, man. I mean, I'm not the title says CTO, but under the hood, I do security research. Sometimes I reply to the help desk support tickets because I don't like the support ticket has an SLA which is 4 hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes my guys will be on leave or taking a tea break, long tea break, all these things, something it will miss. And
That's
it will
possible.
automatically escalate and assign to me.
Yeah.
I'll reply to it. Either it is 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I'll reply to it. And we have a fleet of, we don't have a huge fleet of security, what is this called, as sales engineers. We don't have a huge fleet. We have very few ones, but good ones. Sometimes if they go on leaves, right, I'll be working 24 hours around the site because we have 3 major markets. So one is the US, and the other one is Europe, and the other one is the Australia, these type of things. So these are the 3 extreme stuff, and I have to work random times. It's like, okay, I have 4 hours for the next customer demo. I'll sleep, and then I'll wake up after 3.5 hours, 4 hours, and then I'll start giving the sales pitch.
Yeah.
So it's the title is fancy, at least CTO, but under the hood, you are the support guy,
Right.
you are the security research guy, you are the technical, you are the product manager, you are the product designer, I mean, everything. So that's the beauty of startups.
That's a great mindset.
Yeah, and it's like a paid MBA by itself.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, you go to all these big programs, and what they teach you is people management, product management, technical financial management, all these things. Sometimes an intern comes in and then he creates a simple Lambda function that recursively runs. Okay. Overnight, we'll be getting, I mean, that Lambda function, if you give a 12 GB RAM for it or something like that, overnight you'll get a $20,000 bill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you're done. Now, okay, I have budgeted this money for in a startup, it's always, we run a tight ship, right?
Right.
And with that kind of a tight ship, if this $20,000 goes over one night, okay, fine. Okay, the first thing comes to my mind is, okay, what is Gary and Chirag gonna say? They're gonna kill me first. Okay, let me go ahead and fix this. And then because I did work at AWS in past, and all these cloud providers are very amazingly startup friendly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we have been,
Especially AWS, very big
yeah,
friendly.
very, very nice friendly. I mean, they love to hear the customer problems.
Absolutely.
And that's the culture I have learned as well, luckily. So we explained this is the situation. It's like, they refunded it. They refunded 20K, man. I mean, that's something that I loved. On the other side, we also told like we are a startup and we wanted to be in the Activate. They have like Activate kind of a program for startups.
Correct. AWS Active.
Yeah, so we got amazing credits for them.
Nice.
So when it was very time crunchy thing for us, all this type of grants and all these things helped us a lot. I think eventually when we start growing, right, that's when they start doing this milking the cow kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But now it is, I mean, when we have a lot of milk, if they are milking the cow, fine. When we have less resources, they're helping, and it's always a give and take kind of a thing. So it's nice. We enjoy it, and the support that we get for the technical things. They have if you're a startup, right, they have a dedicated technical person helping you in architecture designs.
Correct. Yeah.
They have a dedicated person to help you go to market, build the go to market. They have dedicated events to help you do all this amazing boot camps kind of stuff. So it's we take advantage. I mean, anything that's free, we take advantage of it, man.
Just like any other startup.
Yeah, anything that is free, we love it. Okay, and if they ask us to pay a lot of money, we'll think, okay, how much value is it gonna give, and we weigh all these things, and then we take the decision.
Absolutely, yeah. So on that note, this episode is also free. You can
Yeah,
watch it
yeah.
as much as you want. And you can also get in touch with Setu just like I did.
Yes.
Setu, how do people get in touch with you?
I mean, I'm very active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So it's just send me a hi. So I'll be always active on LinkedIn because I connect a lot with my LinkedIn collections, try to arrange meetings, post on stuff.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn is easy to get hold of me. If not, you can easily find my email address as well. It's not very hard to find. You can easily find it and just email me. So easy stuff, not very complex.
Absolutely. On that note, Setu, absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
having
much.
me.